Well, first of all, thanks for having us on and thanks for doing this, because a lot of people do not understand that there are people from January 6th that are still not pardoned. You know, they say President Trump pardoned everybody. He did commute their sentences, and so they got out of jail January 20th or shortly thereafter. But the repercussions of what happened to them by the Department of Justice still continues. And, you know, we are heading into another holiday season, and some of the repercussions for these individuals, the majority of them can't get jobs. They can't get their medical license reinstated. They can't do anything at their child's school because Interpol still has them listed as a domestic terrorist. So they're not going to be able to go to their child's Christmas play, Thanksgiving play. And we're almost a year into this, and it's really disappointing that things haven't been moved across President Trump's desk yet. And so that's really what we're doing at Stand in the Gap, is not only raising awareness, but putting this program together to get them true justice, because they've been left behind.
No doubt. And I think the main push for this is we want to get this. We want President Trump to see this, and we wanted to make these men and women whole. This has been going on long enough, and we know that President Trump has our interests at heart, but we just feel like there's some people that are around him that have kind of subverted what he wanted to do. And so we want to make sure that these people are able to get their VA benefits or whatever it is, and to get the felonies off their record, and to make them at least whole citizens again.
Well, both of you can attest to the fact that receiving the pardon, the vast majority of J6ers are still struggling.
Yeah.
Those that receive the pardon, whether it's, you know, mental issues that are taking place, whether it's severe PTSD, we've had suicide situations that have been discussed and have happened, you know, that's very real. The struggle is very real. You got to also think about the fact that it's being compounded for these individuals, the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys, that received a commutation, because there's even that weighing on them, like we've been talking about. VA medical benefits, the ability to bank. Some of these guys and gals can't even get banking going. Now, we did hear Sarah and Shane, a good friend of yours, Glory Bank, Old Glory Bank. They've stepped up to the plate with some of these J6ers and are really helping out, and a hat tip to both of you for helping make that happen. But, you know, this struggle is very real, guys. It's very real. And why do you think that, what, in your opinion, why is this being delayed? Why are these pardons not being handed down? I've heard they're in the West Wing.
I've heard the same thing, but, you know, a couple of weeks ago, I heard a very interesting story about the pardons that I had not heard before, is that there were people around him, one, saying, don't pardon these individuals at all. It does not look good for you. And then the reason that President, you know, a couple of days before the inauguration, President Trump said that he was going to pardon them 9 minutes after he was inaugurated. And that's a very interesting number. And so, you know, what was supposed to happen was, long story short, he was supposed to sign the pardons on the Capitol steps in a very iconic Trump way. But all these people around him were saying, don't do it, don't pardon anybody, trickle the pardons out over the next 4 years. And he said, no, I just watched President Biden autopen all of these pardons and sign his family's pardons. He said, I am pardoning every single one of these individuals. And so that's why he didn't sign it at the Capitol. He didn't sign it at the arena. And then when he got back to the Oval Office, supposedly he didn't know that those 14 names were on that list. And so, you know, I absolutely trust President Trump, but there are people around him that are very questionable. And there is a missing link between President Trump and those close to him that we trust, and the January 6th community. And so that's a whole other reason that we're trying to shed light, because like I said earlier, the American public doesn't know that these people aren't pardoned, and President Trump doesn't know what these individuals are going through.
Yeah. No, and I would say that's the part that frustrates me the most. Is it's kind of disgusting to me that we're still having to fight this fight. And just today or yesterday, they're rolling out the J6 pipe bomber, who happened to be a former Capitol police officer. And so it just goes to show you that there's these 300 plainclothes FBI agents at the Capitol. This goes to show you this was not some organic riot or somebody trying to overthrow the government. This was a manufactured event to cover up a stolen election in 2020, and we're still suffering the repercussions of this. Nobody's been compensated via lawsuit. Nobody has been made right for the time in solitary confinement they did, for the assaults that they received by the police on the Lower West Terrace. There's a lot of different things. The treatment by the DC jail, no haircuts, no visits, all of that, and it's just frustrating that we're still having to fight this fight. But we're thankful for people like Don and Donna who are willing to help us get this message out and to help make our brothers and sisters right, because that's what this is about. It's about bringing these community along before we lose somebody, because it is, you were talking about how difficult it's been, not only the mental and the emotional trauma that these people are going through and suffering, trying to put their lives back together, going through divorces, like just trying to put their pieces back together, and now they're still having to fight this fight, and it's beyond frustrating.
I would say the need is greater now than it was when they were incarcerated.
Yeah, because you take it for granted. Here's what's so frustrating to us is the fact that you've got 5 years, going on 6 years now, pretty much, of bad mouthing by the mainstream media. And you've got a lot of lawmakers who are at the Capitol and they live in that swamp. And it's very hard for them to change their mind. And to me, that's MAGA versus, quite honestly, the Uniparty, the RNC. And unfortunately, many people that can be in the Trump administration. And they don't want to admit that maybe they were wrong. And that's huge.
These individuals should be marched into Congress under oath, telling their testimonies, every single one of them. And here we are 10 months, 11 months into this administration now, and it's very disappointing that still stuff has trickled out. And I truly believe that the investigative journalists have done more than anybody in the administration outside of President Trump to bring light to what these individuals have gone through and continue, like Real America's Voice and you all and everything that you've done. You have not taken your finger off the pulse for these people because they have not been made whole again.